Okay, so I'm going to try and run you through some weird things. One, I had just promised Ken that I would turn him on. He said he didn't know anything about Sun Ra, and all my hip jazz friends are against Sun Ra, but I've always been a fan. And Ken asked me, where do you start? Now, I just discovered this a couple of years ago, and it's a Giles Peterson collection. For years, I bought every Sun Ra, and I believe they were on Delmark or something like that. All the original Sun Ra's are really good, and I don't think they're expensive. Quality of the sound, the clarity of the sound, and just the curating. Giles Peterson curates this, and this, if I had to recommend one Sun Ra album, this would be the one. It's called Sun Ra and his Orchestra.
Right.
When I saw Sun Ra in the Central Park, he had drums that were about 12 feet high, and he had these curved sticks, and all the drummers would play with the drums over their head. This is another place to start, even though I could show you infinite Sun Ra albums. Both of these are available. It says John Gilmore on tenor sax, Julian Priester on trombone. Anyhow.
What do you like about Sun Ra?
It sounds corny, and his titles are corny, and it's all outer space. But my problem with like mainstream sort of blue note jazz is it's kind of pretentious, and it's a little uppity, and it's like, oh, look at our solos, aren't we great? You know, I'm a painter. Painting is solos. Painting is like, aren't we great? It is who we think art tends to be who we think we are and what we think is important. And that's where Sun Ra really stands out. He's not wearing a suit. And who does he think he is? He thinks he's kind of a magical presence on earth, meant to give something there's love in his work. But there's also magic, and there seems, to my limited ability to grasp, it seems highly sophisticated. This isn't corny or pop, and it's not textbook academic jazz. In general, music that leans towards academic, even though I like avant-garde music, tends to be too sterile and left brain. Sun Ra is totally right brain. All the tricks and sophistication and subtleties, the nuance, are immense. It's almost infinite. The space in his work literally is. They're very spatial, but the space is filled with nuance, not just like we're turning up the reverb. And his live performances, he's not the front man. He's playing the piano with the best of them, and he's not pretending to be a star. In fact, I've seen him 3 times. I don't remember him ever once acting like a star. That's my answer to that. Moondog, on the other hand, I didn't know anything about him. My friends, Jeffrey and Dave turned me on to him. And I was like, oh my God, where did this guy come from? And apparently he was around forever in New York during the 60s. And he dressed like, he wore a hat with horns on it like a Viking, and I think they used to call him the Viking of 6th Avenue or something like that. But he played on the street, and he played in the park, and he gave the illusion, and it may have been true, of being homeless, but I don't think he was, and he clearly had sophisticated John Cage, William Burroughs, sophisticated friends. And he made a lot of records, and they were produced very much like Teo Maceo records. They're collages. In fact, the imaging on a Moondog is really weird because it'll include sounds from the Staten Island Ferry. There's a lot of like ambient sounds, but it's arranged on a grid. When you sit between the speakers on a stereo, you can see where they mixed it in. Typically, there isn't up and down on a stereo. There's kind of right, left. This has a little more up and down than I'm used to seeing, and I'm not sure how they do it. But their sound collage is arranged on a grid. And they're just delightful, and most of his albums actually sound quite good. Now, I noticed, and I just saw Ken's marvelous series on John DeVore. And John DeVore is an old friend. I met him when he was 19 years old, and he was selling audio. And then when he was selling at Sound by Singer, we became really close because I used to encourage him to sell audio note equipment when I was doing that. But not that long ago, a few years ago, he came by and we were going to listen to music and go out to lunch, and he brought me Miles Davis in a silent way. And I'm embarrassed to say I'd been a Miles Davis fan for decades, and I hadn't really given my full attention to this record. To say I'm really guilty of everything I made fun of, I become infatuated with, and the things that I missed very often, like I'm just discovering Lady Chatterley's Lover, and I'm like 100 years old. I'm like, oh my God, how did I miss this? Anyhow, it's the same with Silent Way. It's a beautiful recording. I mean, there's just, in a way, this is one of the most Herb albums I've ever had. I could just listen to it all day, every day for a long time and never get bored with it. But, and there's this, just for the cover, there's our Jack Johnson record. But here's the one I really want to talk about. And I bought this, actually, I think Steve Guttenberg gave me the first one. He gave it to me in mono. This is Third String Modern Jazz Quartet and guests. Don't ask me, I don't remember names, who the guests are. But this album is pure magic, and it is painterly, and it's avant-garde. But Steve gave me the mono version because he doesn't like mono, and I liked it, but I liked the album so much, I had to immediately go out and buy a nice, I should take it out of the plastic, a nice copy of the stereo version. And a lot of times when I'm reviewing equipment, I actually compare the stereo and the mono just to see how the differences show up on that particular system, which is interesting all by itself. I'm late to the trough with John McLaughlin, but again, the fusion thing sprouted roots, and I've gotten very much into that over the years. I'm not so good at this, but let me go through here. This is one I discovered many years ago. I think I might have been I think I was doing demonstrations at audio shows, and I used this one. Atlantic, when it's good, is like Argo or... So, by the way, gotta tell you this, no matter what Ken says, I arrange my records. I'm very right brain. I arrange them by label.
Oh, really?
Primarily, and I've always done this, even because my first job was a Chess record outlet. So I had all my Chess records, then I had Atlantic records, then I had Stax records, and I collected 45s. All my 45s were in boxes with the name of the label on them. And this continued. And then rock and roll came in, which is kind of messy. What am I going to do? Put Apple Records have a box? No. What I did was I divided my music into black and white, depending on the color of the skin of the people who made it. And I still do that. My record collection, and I've separated out. I have a little section on piano because I'm obsessed with piano. I have a section called Demo. And demo is really, stuff I'd play if I were going to demonstrate a system and I was hoping it would sound good to my guests. But mainly, it's labels. And I don't have enough jazz to do that. That's how embarrassingly small my jazz collection is.